This video is made possible by Omaze. So we've got the harness almost ready for termination, which in this case actually means finishing it, not getting rid of it. We've got a couple things to clean up there, but this is another improvement on my, what you'd call like track day weekend warrior harness setup. I'm getting better and doing things to test for the big mil-spec harnesses that you'll be seeing with how-tos on the channel. This is a 3-rotor. The one thing I'm going to do is I ordered some basically epoxy to fill inside of these cracks here, because we know the 3-rotor is going to leak. We know the 3-rotor is going to be dirty, and I want this harness to be basically watertight, oil tight from this end all the way through till the very end of the connectors. So everything else needs to be able to not get shitty. Let's take a step back and show you what my old harnesses used to look like. This is actually the original harness for the 3-rotor. I didn't build it, but I did rebuild it. There's injectors, snakes, weird ass connectors, just ultra thick. You can always tell it's me when I use way too thick of gauge wire. I'm always over the top. The harness that changed my life is this one right here. This is the harness that I built for the 3-rotor, the very first real full harness I built from scratch, and then also ended up being used for the rotary Corvette that got melted on the dyno. Interestingly enough, there are still a lot of things from this harness that are in this harness, except I moved away from soldering because it just makes things bulky, and I never ended up wrapping it because I was like adding things as I went, and well, that's why it looks so bad. But this is the one that made all the power and did everything until it melted. This thing's done a phenomenal job. Just want to show you guys the improvement over about 5 harnesses that I've done to getting to this point. So let's go with what is left on the 3-rotor. There is a lot of things to do in the next 48 hours to get this car running, and it is kind of a self-imposed goal. I want to get this car to turn over and fire up before I leave to go back home before the Hoonigan race airs. So we've got coils, we've got injectors, we've got fuel lines, oil lines, trigger system, and that's really, well, fuels, I guess, and that's really all it's gonna take to turn it over and fire it up. The rest of the car's a mess, but again, it's testing the core of the block. Chris, do you wanna grab the throttle? We've got the throttle box sitting right over there. I just ordered this basically off of a fellow RX-7 owner. This is an FD throttle body. I use it on the Corvette, I use it on the 3-rotor. There's the stock FD everything. We'll gut more of this right now, clean it up even more. That goes right like this. And that's the last piece of the puzzle needed to fire the car up. You've got throttle position. It's got to control how much air is going into the thing. Fuel has to be determined by that. And now we've basically, as far as you can think about it, this is essentially the engine on an engine stand. It just happens to be a very short stand and can move fuel, oil, wiring, and we should have a car fire. Fourth, and then kind of leak. This doesn't work. This is the wiring harness we're halfway through building. I have to fly out in basically 10 hours. I want to see if we can get the 3-rotor fired up. I've quickly done some basic tests on this, and for those of you with sharp eyes, this is a Fueltech unit. Anderson from Fueltech sent this to me because I was using their ignition system on the 4-rotor. This doesn't mean anything more than that. It just simply means that I want to be experienced in all different technologies. And so I'm going to fire this up in the 3-rotor just to see. I do have a Nexus, the 5, the one from Haltech. So we'll be working on all the different new technology, and that's going to go in the C8. So again, trying everything, I feel like that'll make me a better tuner. That won't matter if I blow it up right here. Anderson, if you watch this, I do not have a fuse on your ECU. If you wanted a Roadster, this is a very expensive and painful way of making one. Or you could win one. You could win a Shelby Cobra from Omaze. This car is built by Superformance to the same spec as the 1965 Roadster that put Carroll Shelby on the map. Some of the special features are the external side exhaust pipes. It just looks epic. That's an iconic look for the car. 15-inch Halbrand style wheels, polished driver's side roll bar. You know I'd need that. It has full vintage style gauges, wood Shelby racing steering wheel, and vintage style leather racing bucket seats. Not only is it an amazing car, you also support a wonderful cause. Team Impact tackles the emotional trauma and social isolation experienced by children facing serious and chronic illnesses by matching them with a college athletic team. If you're from Detroit, like I am, it's just a beautiful, wild car rolling up and down Woodward. It's just epic to see during the Dream Cruise. To potentially win a Shelby Cobra 427 SC, $20,000 in cash, and to support Team Impact, go to omaze.com/Dahm. There you go. Blank file map. I got a little bit of work to do. I do also want to say that this little Fueltech 550 has just enough sensors to adequately run the 3-rotor, but it would not run all of the sensors I need on the all-wheel drive 4-rotor. O2, I like lambda, speed, freedom units, fuel pump and return gallons per minute. That works. Rotor, 3-rotor, maximum engine RPM, we'll go to 8800, maximum boost. You can use the laptop too. We'll just say 36 for the moment. Firing order, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that works. My boys are all growing up. They're all doing the work now, and it's nice. This is probably my favorite part about this 3-rotor, is that all 3 guys are working on it, and they're learning, for certain parts that I wasn't comfortable being done with the 4-rotor. And so this means that we can get this done much quicker, which is probably the reason that we're skipping a lot of steps, because prior to the 4-rotor, this is probably the one car that has the most number of videos about it on one channel. So we've got ignition, injection, ECU, starter, fuel pumps, and then we're firing it up. So it is kind of the rough, base core things. Like I said, I fly out shortly, and it's just fun to have these goals. If you're new to the channel, this is the 3-rotor, and it's time for it to fire back up. Yes. So what is nice is I've always used this in the car. I did use the Pennzoil a couple of years ago in this car, 040. That worked well, but this is for high horsepower. And this is non-synthetic. This is actually regular. So in theory, you could use it if you were injecting it, but delete the OMP, delete the oil metering pump. Just have crankcase oil be crankcase oil, and we're going to be using this in this car. Finally putting a wiring harness in, but within these couple, this is probably an hour of work with all of us just humming along. It already looks like a car again. Injectors, ground, control, trigger wheel, and then throttle, and that's really all we need to turn it over. So you'll see a lot of things that we're doing just as a chance to get this running in one night. So there's a lot of jumpers for everything else, but this harness is actually another level up for me. You can see the blue tape on it. That was me testing what's called potting compound. It's like a plastic, rubbery plastic, that I want to have it where it holds this connector to this wire. So you pull on it, the potting compound is like epoxy, and it holds it all together. I hate this right here. I hate this. It's just the wires. You're holding, somebody pulls it, or it pulls itself, and it's just the wires holding it in. One's definitely going to be rotor 1 leading, or rotor 1 primary. All the way deep down here. I guess rotor 2 primary. It might be. There comes a moment in every young man's life where he's about to be fired if the car turns over. This moment means so much to him, is that this is the positive terminal for the battery. If I plug it to the battery and the car tries to turn over, that means that he swapped the starter wires. And I've done it. So that's why I'm like, I actually feel like it's going to start. But if it doesn't start, he did a good job. You did a good job? Okay, he lives for another day. Well, while we're here, we'll go to the next level.
Oh boy.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and do this. And Chris, we're going to see if we actually do get it to turn over. The goal last round was to get it to not turn over. This round is to get it to turn over. And we have to do it this shitty way. So there we go. But here's the line to the starter relay. It should. It didn't. It's sparking, so it's thinking about doing something. Some investigation's needed. So I just swapped the two around, and it's not Chris's fault because the picture showed it this way, and I remember it's opposite. So we're gonna see if this thing is going to turn over. This is exciting. So the computer's not on. There's nothing else plugged in other than the starter. And so we're gonna let it pump a little bit of oil through the lines.
Hold on. We should probably take the...
Yeah. That's the second time you've saved me from that. I get so like tracked. As soon as something exciting happens, I'm like, let's keep going. So you can hear that it doesn't have consistent compression because it's just been sitting.
Definitely. Yeah.
We bought a brand new clutch and everything for it and just sat.
I know, it made me sad.
Spent so much money. Like,
you got me excited.
Yeah, like, hey, we'll have this car together in a week. Get the upper intake manifold on, get the throttle body onto the upper intake manifold.
Can we get this thing to start?
Now that we've got the starter verified, we're gonna go ahead and test the 2 pumps of the 3 fuel pumps. Now these are Hellcat pumps. We filled that full of E85 and tons of premix. We're gonna go ahead and cycle it through just the little surge tank. So we should hear it kind of dry and then hopefully no leaks.
leaking fuel.
Let's tighten whatever that is. You know what I just realized? We're tightening that line. The return on it would have just started shooting straight there. So what it was doing is building pressure up to the fuel pressure regulator, and it was just gonna shoot straight out. That is my favorite intake manifold of a stock car. Well, stock engine.
It looks so sick.
Such a, like, you see that, you know it's rotary. I hate when people make aftermarket ones and they don't look like a rotary.
3 rotor.
Mm-hmm. No question. What is nice now we generated the map. It is a leading, trailing. This is pretty close to what I planned already. And I'm pretty damn happy with that, but the ignition is what we need to make sure is right. Yeah, that is closer. We're gonna fire. It's if we had some starting fluid, this thing would fire up. We just have no compression. This way we can go between the stock FD throttle body and drive-by-wire, but with this little adapter here. It depends on the mood, but this is the connector for throttle, so we can measure that. Right now the ECU doesn't know what the hell's going on. We need to do something that will give us a boost of energy. Let's see if this helps us with our cold start. I wish I had starter fluid though. Yep, okay, and then close it back down to about 20%. Okay, now I'm gonna add actual fuel, some fuel pressure. Okay, go ahead and spray some more in there. More. Yeah, more. More. There you go.
Whoa, fire!
That proves a point. Ignition is working, everything's working. That was necessary for having such a whole new system. The guys are doing the right thing, worrying a typical Friday for me. It warmed up, it definitely helped. But again, I'm gonna see if now, we'll leave it as it is, and see if it'll start. Okay, I'm purposely stopping because what I'm gonna have you do, Chris, is as soon as I like pull the power, okay? Because it's gonna happen. Give it the tiniest spritz into the primary port. Sorry. I wish I'd left it running the one time it was running because it's just cold. We may end the video there. Depends. I'm gonna keep trying it, but you see it. It's here. We just gotta get we have none of the sensors on. We don't have the fuel pressure sensor. None of those on. Oh, she's coming back to life. Not only that, you support an amazing charity. Not only that, you support an amazing. Not only that, you support an amazing. Not only that, you support an amazing